Every time I do a video and I put a different watch on, somebody always notices and puts a comment or sends a message saying, "Oh, what's the watch you're wearing today? I love that. Can you talk about it?" It's not a watch channel and I'm not a watch expert. I'm an enthusiastic amateur and I've been wearing and collecting watches for the last 8-9 years, and it's something of a hobby of mine. Anyway, so this one, I've only just started recently wearing it again because it's just had a new battery. And you say, a new battery? A new battery? You wear Quartz watches? Yes, I wear Quartz watches. This is an Omega Seamaster 300 36mm. I'll show a close-up of it properly. But yes, it's a Quartz watch. And this watch really splits the watch world because it's an Omega, or an Omega, however you want to pronounce it. It's a very high quality watch, but it's got a quartz movement. Now, the quartz movement is fascinating. A bit of history. Mechanical watches have been going for hundreds of years, and wristwatches more 20th century. And for probably 60 years, the mechanical Swiss wristwatch was the king of the world, ruled the roost. And then in the 1960s, the Japanese invented the quartz movement. Now, the quartz movement, quartz is a fascinating material. If you put an electric charge through it, it resonates at a very predictable rate. So the quartz is used to regulate the accuracy of the watch movement. And as a result, but with a battery and a bit of quartz, you can get extremely accurate watches, way more accurate than the Swiss counterparts. So in the 1960s and 70s, the Swiss watch movement basically died because of this influx of cheaper, more accurate, effectively better Japanese movements. Now, since then, since the 80s, 90s and the noughties, the mechanical watch industry has seen a boom. So, but why? Why, especially now, why do people wear watches when you've got the time on your phone, there are clocks everywhere, there is no need to have a watch on your wrist? And this is absolutely true. I went diving with a specific diving watch, a Rolex diving watch a few years ago, and I thought this would be really cool if I go diving and I'll get my certification and I've got my diving watch on, and it was terrible. It was awful. I've got to be honest. Everybody else was there with diving watches and they were digital and they could tell you your oxygen supply, they could tell you how long you've been under, they could tell you your depth, they could tell you what surface you needed to resurface to. My watch, basically, if you squint up to the light and really look hard, it would tell you how long you'd been in the water, and that's it. Now, so times have moved on. We don't need watches anymore. We certainly don't need mechanical watches, and we don't need all of the complexity of an automatic watch. But this is where the but comes in. For the aficionado and for the enthusiast, that is why we still wear them, for the love of the intricacy and the engineering that goes into making the watch. And I have to say, when you get into it, when you take the back off a watch and you see that a spring's being wound and the tension in that spring is released at a very predictable rate, that times the second hand, and the accuracy of the watch, there's no electronics, there's no mechanism, there's no computer there that's telling it how to tick. It's purely down to engineering. And some of these watches, automatic mechanical watches, can be accurate to less than a minute a day. But it's the precision of that really excites the watch enthusiast. Now, most people who own a fancy watch will never ever take the back off it. Personally, I've had watches that I've never seen the movement in. They've got a stainless steel back and you need a special device for removing the back, and you don't want to break the seal, you don't want to ruin the gasket, you don't want to get foreign bodies, dust and contaminants into the watch movement. So there's every reason not to open it up. However, when you understand what's going on inside, and then a watch that has, not this one, but a watch that has a rotor, a self-winding mechanism, what's called an automatic watch, then that takes it to a next level. That has a weight inside that literally rocks from side to side, and it's that rocking motion that winds the spring. So in theory, the watch never needs to be hand wound. So This is why we wear watches, and it's something of a community. There's something of a when you spot a watch on somebody else's wrist, because you don't need to wear it, because they're expensive, and because you're buying it for a reason, you're wearing it for a specific reason, then you're part of a little club. Oh, I see you've got the Omega XYZ 123. Oh, I see you wear a Rolex, blah, 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 blah. And then you start a conversation. It's the same as dog walkers talking about each other's dogs and how old is he and what's he called and all that sort of thing. It starts a conversation. It's a social thing. You're part of the same club. Now, so why, when the reason for having a watch in the first place is because you're in love with the engineering and the horology aspect of it, why would you ever have a quartz watch? Because that goes against the whole idea of it. The reason for me is it's a purely practical thing. When I was buying this one, I had the choice between the 36mm quartz and the 41mm automatic. This one, I think, suits my wrist better. I've got very thin, very dainty wrists. And if you see when I wear a bigger watch, like a Rolex GMT, it's quite big it sits quite big on the wrist. Some less charitable commentators have said it looks like I've stolen my dad's watch. It does, because it sits very large on my thin wrist. So I bought this one. Now, when you have automatic watches, you don't want the faff every day of having to set the time and wind them. And when you're rotating between watches, that's exactly what you have to do, because the power reserve only lasts for a couple of days. So you have to set the time and you have to rewind it, and it's a bit of a pain to keep doing that every day. So you sit them in a watch winder. Now, unless you have a bank of 8 or 10 watch winders constantly whirring away, keeping your watch wound, ready for you to use it, you're going to have to choose which ones you're going to. Now, I've got 2 watch winders, and I have the most commonly used automatic watches sitting there on the winders and a couple of quartz watches sitting at the side. Obviously, you don't need to put a quartz watch in a watch winder, but that with a battery has a 5-year power reserve that never needs to be wound. It never needs to be reset other than for daylight savings time. And it's just always good to go. So because it's not my everyday watch, and because I would normally wear an automatic watch, sometimes I like to wear this one. And because I know I can just pick it up and go, it's absolutely ideal. So that's why I have a quartz watch. But when people find out, it's like, it's almost like spotting a fake Rolex on somebody's hand. When you say, oh, you've got a Submariner. And they have a look at it and they go, oh, is it a fake? You go, yeah, I got it in Thailand. It's the disappointment. It's the shoulders that go down and you're a fake. You're not real. And it's the same when people discover you've got a quartz watch. Oh, I love the Seamaster. Is that that's the automatic, isn't it? No, it's the quartz. Oh, shame. like they pity you for having a quartz watch because we thought you were a part of the club, but you're actually not. Now, I don't subscribe to this, obviously, because I have no problem wearing a quartz watch, but I love the quartz watch because of its simplicity, its reliability, and the fact I can just pick it up and go, and it's always just ready to go. Not to mention the fact, bear in mind, this is a 20-year-old watch, and it's got a helium release valve in the top corner. Now, a helium release valve is a specific feature of a diving watch that only is useful when the watch goes down to extreme depths. And when the watch goes to extreme depths, the helium can build up inside the watch and can ruin the movement. And so it has a helium release valve specifically for letting the smaller molecules of helium out without breaking the rest of the seal. It's a very, very specific piece of engineering. And let's be honest, 99.999% of people who have a helium release valve on their watch have never, ever used it because it's never been in the bath, let alone on a wrist at extreme depths in the sea. So it's a piece of engineering nicety rather than something that has an actual practical use for most people. Anyway, this was a little aside, and I hope you enjoyed a little chat about watches. If there's anything else you want to know, please let me know in the comments. But until next time, take care. I'll see you very soon.